Quan, thank you for being here. Beast 4 Loco, good to see you, Angel. So just so you guys know, today during the podcast, because I don't normally do these live, I'm not going to be reading chat a whole bunch or like really at all. I'm going to be focused on having this conversation with Josh. We've got Josh Wimbish, who is a conservative Republican from Virginia, and he's about my age. He was also in the military, and I thought this would be an interesting opportunity for me and him to sort of talk about different ideas and give people a good understanding of sort of how two different people with relatively the same backgrounds can come to sort of different conclusions about how society runs. So, and what our inevitable solutions are to society today. So I'm hoping that you guys will enjoy this. I truly am. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and cut over here. This is going to be really awkward, but okay. We'll just cut straight over to it. Josh, hello. Welcome in, man. How are you doing today?
Doing good, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad you decided to come on and do this today. I'll try to cover some of the stuff we talked about just a few minutes ago too, but yeah, I'm super glad you decided to come on today. So tell me a little bit about yourself. You are, what was I going to say? Racing. Racing was the first place I wanted to go for some reason, just because it seems like a nice light topic and something you know a lot about. So you do racing? Hey, so this is future me. It seems we had some audio issues here. Took me a few seconds to get them fixed, but it would have been a little more awkward if I'd cut this section out and then had him jump in the middle of him speaking. So apologize for this, but should be good in a second.
VR goggles, and I've tried that before, and I actually got in a really bad motorcycle wreck and almost didn't make it home from that. Went tumbling down a hill and hit my head really hard, and after that I couldn't use VR. So I've got all these screens here, but yeah, I help with a friend of mine. He builds go-karts, and we race on the weekends, and so I help with them and doing that on the real side of racing as well. So I'm a big race fan. That's why we were talking about my little cheap background here.
Yeah.
If I didn't have that, you'd see some racing paraphernalia and collectibles on the wall. So
I gotcha. Yeah, I noticed you on your Facebook profile. You had like a yellow race car of some kind. Now, those are dirt cars that you race, or?
Yeah, those are what we do.
Okay.
Is dirt racing on the weekends, but iRacing is a bunch of different things, and some of us take it a little too seriously because it's online, but it's pretty competitive, and they've got a league now where you can run for $100,000.
Oh, really?
And so that's some serious money, out there. So there's a lot of people out there trying to make it, trying to climb the ladder, and so I was one of those people trying to do that and make it to this top tier until I got in that really bad wreck, and so then that set me back a whole lot. So now I just pretty much realize that I'm 38 years old. I'm not meant to make $100,000 that way. And I just enjoy racing and enjoy the game.
You almost have to at some point. I think, especially coming from the streaming world where everybody wants to be a professional gamer, most people aren't going to make it there. It's just the fact of the matter. And yeah, there does come a point in your life where you got to realize, like, hey, I might need to adjust my priorities or just accept that it's going to be a hobby,
Right.
How long ago was your motorcycle accident?
That was actually back in November, so it wasn't that long ago.
Really?
November of last year. So I had a rough couple of years, man. I lost my father back in January of 2018 to esophageal cancer. After that happened, it just seemed like, listening to your last podcast, it seems like when you're on a downward spiral, you continue that downward spiral. And so I got, kind of hooked into drinking a lot and acting a fool a lot and, doing a lot of things I normally wouldn't do. And things kind of continued their path down until I kind of found my way up. And, with the help of a lot of good friends around me and good people, helped bring me back up. And then, you get involved with certain things, and you get involved with things like politics and arguing with people. And next thing you know, you got your life back and you seem halfway normal. So
It seems like having something like that to hang on to is a really great way to grab the rungs of the ladder and pull yourself back up. Was it politics and arguing that sort of pulled you out of that, or was there some other catalyst specifically that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really so much the arguing with people, but it's the trying to understand, what I think from a conservative standpoint versus what you think from, a more liberal standpoint. Now, there may be some things that we totally agree on. There may be some things that we're totally couldn't be further away from each other on. But the thing that I don't understand is why in this country we've turned into such a cancel culture so fast and without care. You say one wrong thing, people are going to destroy you, your life, and your career based on one damn thing that you've said or one thing that you've done. But none of these people stop and think for a second, am I in order? Is my house in order? Is everything that I do in order? Before they go after people. And so it's only so many people that these folks can continue to go after before it turns around on them. And then they're going to be sitting there wanting to play the victim. And we're all going to get to say, no, we told you cancel culture was eventually going to cancel itself. That time is now, and now you're getting to reap the benefits of it.
So you think cancel culture is already beginning to tear itself apart?
Oh, it's going to tear itself apart. There's absolutely no way that it can last because they're already turning on themselves. And we saw this even in cities like Seattle, in cities like Chicago. We saw these groups that were turning on each other. They say that, there's peace there in these blue cities. The ones that I mentioned, especially Chicago, is a mess. I mean, Lightfoot, the mayor there, has just completely destroyed the city. They're not going to come back from that. That's going to take that city forever to come back. And that's a beautiful place. It's one of my bucket list places to go to, but not right now. But yes, to answer your question, simply, they're going to cancel themselves out because they're going to run out of people. And we saw them do that. Even the BLM movement is part of this cancel culture. And I say that knowing that people are going to take anything you say about BLM and take it to the extreme. Okay, now I'm going to tell you this right now about cancel culture. There's one thing that I've always said, and it hadn't got me canceled yet, but I think that the BLM movement is a farce being put on by a bunch of white people. All these white people act like they give a damn when they really couldn't care. They don't care. They just want to be out there and cause trouble. It's cheaper to sit at home right now, right?
I feel like that's lumping a lot of people into one basket, though. I mean, to say white people don't care, and this is the
ones they
part.
have out there. The ones they have out there that are on television that are making sure that they're seen. The ones that are out there making sure that people that they can create chaos. That want to do that. Look, I'm no different than you or anybody. I want peace for everybody. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what background you came from. I don't care whether you're rich, poor, black, white, yellow, brown, who you are. I want you to have peace, prosperity in life. I want you to be able to make something of yourself. And there's no better country in the world than America to make that happen. However, if we don't stop this dumbing down of society, and for whatever reason, it's okay all of a sudden to have a president who's cognitively declining before our very eyes. And if that was Donald Trump, the liberals would already want him out. They want his head on the block. But we're just supposed to sit here and be okay with it. And I know I'm jumping around to thing, and you got to keep me under control.
That's okay. We'll touch on more of these points individually. Just starting, just so people can understand where you're coming from with your beliefs. How much did being in the military shape your perspective of things like foreign policy and the president's influence on other countries?
There were some things that I saw being in the military that made me question, what's going on here, who's really pulling the strings. And I think that's when you learn about the military industrial complex, how huge it is, the level that it plays in this ball game is huge. They're basically the umpire and the CEO of Major League Baseball, if you want to put it that way. They're the boss in charge of the bosses on the field who control whether or not you get to play the game. So the military industrial complex does the same. They're in total control over everything that happens in every single country and every operation. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter even, back years ago when they were actually bringing drugs in to release them to cities like in Chicago. And of course, the MIC had things to do with that as well. So it's as much as they want it to be, and they're in control of all of it. So you've got to ask yourself, when you have the military industrial complex and the power that it wields, there are people that spend 20, 30, 40 years in the military. Those are the people that are really in power. And those are the ones that I worry about. Those are the ones that actually can keep me up at night if I sit around thinking about it.
So what do you think about the influence of civilian contractors, though, in battlefield environments? It seems like there's so much money to be made off war, hence the military industrial complex, that it's almost impossible for us to live any other sort of life. If that does that make sense?
Absolutely. And the reason it seems that way is because war is the best and quickest way for anyone rich to make a dollar. It's to make any dollar, period. War is the fastest way to make that happen. If you look at what Donald Trump tried to do, he tried to get companies to come together and say, okay, don't leave America, stay here. And a lot of companies did that. He was able to save so many jobs, but you'll never hear about it. He
I mean, I disagree on that point. I do, and we'll have to talk more about that. But
we could get into that, but honestly, now I lost my train of thought because I thought we were going to get into something because you disagree.
Let's do it. But, I mean, seriously, like, how did Donald Trump save anybody's job? I don't feel that he did at all.
Okay, so Ford was going to leave and go to Mexico. Walgreens was going to leave and go to Switzerland because it's all tax free. All right. Now, my wife works for CVS. I think CVS is a fantastic company. So, I don't really give a damn what Walgreens does. But the problem that I have is because people took the time to hate Donald Trump so much, then I don't think if you actually aspire to a level of hate that we saw for this president, which is something that none of us alive to this day have ever seen. One man hated so bad. I've never seen anything like it. Have you?
No, I've never seen somebody deserving of such hate either.
Deserving of such hate.
Yeah.
Okay. So the man comes in. And here's the thing. I don't want to go back in time and talk about all the things Donald Trump did because here's the thing. We won't
get into all the whataboutisms.
Here's my thing. Am I a Donald Trump fan? Absolutely, I am. Do I think that everything revolves around Donald Trump? Hell no. I think that the further we get down the road, the further we get from the Trump name, the better off we're going to be because there's too much hate for the Trump brand. Mm-hmm. People want to destroy that brand. The problem is the man's too damn rich for anybody to take him down. Now, me as just a regular concerned citizen, I say, while I like what he did, I appreciate what he did. I don't like the dysfunction that I saw. I also don't like what I saw at the end because nothing played out the way that I thought it was going to. And that ties into something that I thought was really interesting that you put in the email to me, that things that you wanted to talk about was Q. And we don't have to talk about that yet. But part of my problem with Donald Trump is I feel like they gave up. They knew the plan from the get-go. Do I think he was cheated? Hell yeah, I do. But I think
you think the election was stolen?
I think there's cheating in every election.
But
I think there's cheating in every election.
Do you think that the election was fully taken by fraud?
I think that there was fraud in the election. Am I supposed to believe that two old geezers are going to generate that much oomph in people? Okay, people who won't even go try to even get a job because they need money for something, but they're going to go get up and vote for Joe Biden. Or you expect me to believe that Donald Trump and Joe Biden broke the record for votes when they are two of the oldest men and people just really couldn't give a shit more over who won over the other? And now we've got a cognitively declining president. I'm not saying that Donald Trump was the greatest and the best wordsmith, but I don't think that he was what we're seeing today, which is a president of inaction. And to me, he looks weak, and he's sitting there making deals with Russia, letting Russia have a pipeline. Meanwhile, we shut our pipeline down and sent workers home.
Okay. On that note, just because I think we have to jump in somewhere. As far as, and I'm going to try to avoid whataboutisms here, but Trump made a deal with the Taliban to pull out of Afghanistan. Okay, so if we're going to talk about a president making deals with foreign adversaries, I think that the whole we don't negotiate with terrorists thing probably should come first and foremost before we don't negotiate with foreign leaders. And Trump basically paying off the Taliban to leave Afghanistan, and especially in light of what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, where 150, no, I mean, it's going up by like 10 a day. I think it's like 200 and something territories in Afghanistan have now been taken back over by the Taliban in just a few weeks, like since May 30th, I think. I think that it's a bigger issue that we've pulled out of Afghanistan than any sort of deals that we've cut with Russia. But I think that's a matter of perspective of what's more important to us. You know, so it seems that you're saying it's more important that we don't negotiate with countries like Russia than that we not negotiate with the Taliban.
And also the irony of the situation is just that we're saying it's okay for Russia to have a pipeline. We're saying we're going to help them, whether it's monetarily or with equipment or whatever, to have a pipeline, but yet we shouldn't have a pipeline. And so then we took thousands and thousands of men and sent them home. And then they didn't have paychecks anymore because their entire job was to work on a pipeline. And now what are those guys supposed to do?
Now, see, that's kind of a misnomer, too, because if we're talking about the Keystone XL Pipeline, out of the 13,000 people that were going to be hired for that, only about 680 had been hired at this point. So, yes, we did fire 680 people, but we didn't fire 13,000 like everybody on the right likes to bring up. And then second...
That's why I didn't say 13,000, because it wasn't 13,000.
Yeah, I've heard that argument a lot, though, where people are like, you know, they killed 13,000 jobs. A couple other points with the Keystone XL Pipeline. One, we already have the Keystone Pipeline, which is in operation. It's not under threat. It's not being removed or anything like that. It's still flowing. We're also building 2 other pipelines across the same regional territory that's going to handle just as much oil as the Keystone XL Pipeline would, without the additional construction costs or political drama that comes with the Keystone XL Pipeline. So ultimately, the same goal is going to be accomplished of oil coming down and people being hired to build those pipelines. All that stuff's still going to happen. It's just not going to happen on the Keystone XL Pipeline because that went across native territory or something and people didn't like it. Whatever the reasons were, people didn't like it. And ultimately, when you look at the outcome of the situation, whether it's the Keystone XL Pipeline or the other 2 pipelines being built, the economic cost balances out. So I don't think that was a very good pipeline to begin with. It was already $8 billion over budget. And it was set to cost another $16 billion, which would have put it $24 billion over budget for an $8 billion project. I mean, there's something I think that a conservative can get behind, like wasted money, like just dumping money.
I'm for it. And I get what you're putting down there, but I still think that it was a worthwhile venture to go into. I do think that it cost too much money. But I'm also not an expert in that field. And that's the part that irritates me is you get so many people that want to bitch about something and they want to bitch about a pipeline, but they don't really know. And like you said, they didn't really know what their problem was with it. They just heard the word pipeline and shit a brick.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, I'm a liberal, and I really couldn't tell you why.
And
people
they
are
don't
hating on
care
it, so.
what happens to people. And all I'm saying is, it's like it's all or nothing. Is what this country is about now. Instead of coming together and actually reaching across the aisle and trying. But here's the thing that people don't want to think about is, and it scares me to think this because it's really bad for our country. But we're actually at war with ourselves. People just don't want to admit it. The Democrats and the Republicans are so at odds with each other and hate each other. And Donald Trump came in, and I'm just going to tell you what Donald Trump did because Donald Trump doesn't give a shit. Okay? Donald Trump came in and said, I'm going to be president because I know I can, because if I've got the money. Look, if I had the money that Donald Trump has, I could be the president because I talk the same way. I do the same shit. I believe the same stuff. I'm going to tell people exactly what they want to hear, whether they want to hear it or not. And people love that shit. I'm like Stone Cold Steve Austin on top of the ropes, chugging my beers and having a good time. I'm going to get the damn vote to these people if you have the money for it. He knew I'm going to come in. I'm going to kick some ass. I'm going to show people what these people are about and how corrupt this system is and how much nobody really gives a damn. And if you try to do something, they're going to tell you that you can't do it. And it's for this reason, and this reason. When really, all right, let's just say this. If there was no money politically in pipelines and oil, would anybody give a shit?
I think the people who lived on the native reservations would still give a shit. Like whether the pipeline was being built across their land for free or not.
Yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, let's just say hypothetically we clean up the way that we do our politics and we just get rid of big money. We get rid of all this oil money. We take out all this bullshit and say you can't get money from oil anymore. You can't get money from car companies anymore, especially if it's GM, because GM still owes the damn taxpayers money, by the way. So you can't get money from all these big corporations anymore. Do you think that maybe there'd be a shit ton of seats open in Congress?
I mean, there very well might be. I mean, it's always been my opinion that senators, congressmen, really any elected official should get paid the median wage. That's my opinion. You should make the average of what everybody else makes. Yeah. 6 figures
and then money for their expenses and for other people that work for them. And if you're Nancy Pelosi, you're getting your vodka paid for that's on your private plane that you're going back home to. So,
but so is everybody else. I mean, if we're going to say like Nancy Pelosi with that, I mean, literally. Yeah,
but the money that she was spending on vodka, come on.
All right. Tell me about this. Because I'm not.
Then getting her hair done. I mean, the woman had admittedly 3 cases of vodka on the plane for one plane ride.
3 cases?
And it was only her and 2 other people. So who's partying hard?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's just because I don't like her. So I say that tongue in cheek. It's just kind of funny, but it's not that somebody can put down that much vodka. So I hate that for her. She's got to have problems from that.
So you've mentioned quite a bit here. You don't understand why people are so polarized, like why people are so on board. Am I saying that correctly here?
Yeah. Yeah. There's 2 things to that, if I can, real quick. The first is, you're right. I don't understand why there's got to be such, a differing vision here. But I think the reason it is so different is because of the hate for Donald Trump. And even someone like yourself, who, I don't think it's like you actually hold such hate and resentment that you'd slap the guy if you saw him, but you just don't like him.
I might. I think he was a great TV entertainer, but I think he was a terrible fucking president and the worst choice for that. But we'll get to that.
Well, see, here's the thing too. People don't want to understand is when you disagree, you can disagree and laugh it off. Yeah, because I totally think that he was a fantastic president and did a lot of great things that we're going to see for the next 50 years. But it is what it is. But I guess that's my thing is, yes, why is it so polarizing? Why is it so different? Why does it have to be? And the answer is because of hatred. It is because of the vitriol that people have for this one guy, I think, is why it's so different. Or do you not agree because you're one of those people that you don't like him, so you don't think that's why?
I think that, honestly, my true thought is it goes way beyond politics. It goes way beyond any individual thing and goes straight down to the core of human nature. I think that the main reason that we're polarized is because we're inherently primed to be polarized. I think that anytime, because we have egos, everybody has an ego and everybody has an opinion about something. And when your opinion's challenged, you get defensive about it. And I think that algorithms via Facebook, Twitter, online social media that are designed to show you content that you want to see have created a feedback loop of only the things that make you feel the strongest emotions, because the things that create the strongest emotions in you as a person are the things that are going to get you to stay on the platform. Because ask yourself, how many times do you write a 6-paragraph comment on somebody's cat picture? You know, you don't. Yeah. You get on and you type a huge book about how this person's an idiot, how they're wrong about this and that. People argue back and forth, creates 100 comments in the section, and that pays them. And they like that. So I think that system primed us for operating in a polarized society unintentionally too. I don't think this was intentional. I don't think anybody knew that it was going to have this sort of outcome, but I think that that's exactly what happened. And that's why people like Mark Zuckerberg are currently panicking, trying to figure out how to not be found out for having done this, you know, before people realize that they're the root cause of the downfall of society. But tying that back around to Donald Trump specifically, I think that he also understood that polarizing anger emotion that he can make people feel is the strongest way to get a following. You know, I think that the only reason he ran for president was because people laughed at him when he said he was going to. I think that's why. I think he's a huge man-child like that. And when people made fun of him, he's like, fuck you, I'm going to be president then. And had this sort of mentality about it. And I'm sorry to like degrade him that way, but it's how I envision the man. And I think it's important for you to understand how I envision the man too, so that you can understand maybe why liberals think the way they do. So I think that when he came to power with a message not of unity, but of division. And by fomenting an army on his side that hated the other side, he created this hatred towards him. You know, he polarized people. He brought KKK members out to rally. I mean, he didn't personally, but they showed up at his rallies and supported his beliefs because...
Say, be careful about who personally did, because Joe Biden personally did.
Oh, did he? I got to see some proof on this. If Joe Biden personally... brought out KKK members.
Yes. Him and Hillary Clinton both were both friends with the Grand Wizard. So let's be careful about who we blame for the KKK, because I'm going to tell you that the Democrats created the KKK, and that's the problem. And if you go back to when they were actually created, who were their biggest donors? Were members from the KKK. Who did they donate to? The damn Democrats.
That's true, but in the mid to late 1800s, the political stances of both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party began to shift. So the political stances that your modern day Democrats have were traditionally Republican values, not conservative values, but Republican values.
I would like to know what a modern day Democrat is, and I don't mean this in an insulting way. If it comes across that way, I apologize.
No.
Okay, but I want to know what a modern day Democrat is, because I actually know some. Now, some, you know, of course, one is an attorney that I know. So he's a very affluent gentleman. Doesn't like the direction that the party's going. And a lot of the people that are Democrats, when they say I'm a Democrat, I ask them, what do you think about your party right now? And to see what they say. And I haven't met anybody yet that's told me that they're proud of the party and what they're putting out there and the product that they're putting out there, as far as the people and the choices that they have and what you've seen the party do, you know, depending on which media source you want to watch. If you're smart, you won't watch any.
Yeah.
Because they're all bullshit.
Stay away from cable news, for the love of God.
I mean, I'm just being honest here. I mean, I may be a conservative, but I'm not totally stupid. Okay, I know that the media mob is exactly that. And I think that's what really hurts my heart about Donald Trump. When I look at Donald Trump, I see a president that really cared about this country, that said, who told you back in the day, back on Oprah's show, when she said, will you ever run for president? He said, only if the country's so bad, I feel like I have to. And that's exactly what happened. So some of us feel like Donald Trump came in, did exactly what he said he was going to do. He gave more money to historically black colleges and universities than any other president in the history of the nation. That's a fact.
That is a fact.
More than Obama did. He's come in here. He tried to do so much to help African Americans, but yet nobody gave him any credit for it. Not even Fox News would really talk about it, to be honest. And they're supposed to talk about the shit. And even they wouldn't bring it up. So my thing is, when I look at Donald Trump, my heart hurts for the guy because I feel like he really did care. Do I feel like he can be a bit of a man-child? Sure. But you know what? The difference between him being one and me being one is he's got millions of dollars and I don't. And it's just like I said, with that money, you can get people behind you. You're going to get enough. Look, here's the thing about life. You're either going to surround yourself with good people, better people, or yes men. Now, what does he have working for him? I'm afraid that Donald Trump has way too many yes men and people who say yes, sir, to him, because it's going to be his way or the highway. Because
he fires the rest of them, man.
The turnover rate is horrendous.
Yeah.
I wish the man would slow down a little bit and listen to other people. I wish that our country and these political parties had something for civilians to be on to show that people actually do care, and so that we'll have some sort of system to see how our party is working. And are these people who are supposed to work for us, are they working for us, or are they working for their damn selves? So with all of that being said, and my heart hurting for Donald Trump, what is a modern day Democrat? And what do you think about the party?
Me personally, I mean, I think that with both parties, honestly, there always has been and always will be a extremist sect of those parties. I think that in America, in a country with 340 million people, there's no possible way that we don't have one of every single spectrum of humankind, if that makes sense. We have everybody from people who lick park benches to people who run for president to people who snorkel to people who stand on like literally anything you can imagine, and then 1,000 times more. We have people spread across that spectrum. And what America has always been the idea that you can bring those people together for one unified set of ideas, which is that our safety, our security, our economic prosperity, and our freedom is greater than any individual differences we have between us. And I think that that is beginning to be lost in today's society. I feel like people have forgotten that this greater because we haven't faced conflict in so long, that not real conflict, we haven't had people on our shores. We haven't had a nuclear crisis. We haven't had any sort of real direct threat to our existence since basically since the Civil War. And since then, we have seen a steady decline in our sense of community. And I think that Democrats nowadays, I mean, if we're looking strictly at the extremist, liberal, Antifa types that were out burning, police stations and stuff like that, I mean, obviously no Democrat supports that. I mean, no true American Democrat, just like no true conservative Republican who puts America first would support that. But I think that the idea gets out there that because some Democrats are doing that, all Democrats are bad. And the same on the other side, that if KKK members are coming to Republican rallies, all Republicans are bad. And I think a lot of people forget that 85% of people fall in the middle there and just want to eat their cheeseburgers and watch TV and play with their kids and, live a normal life. Not everybody is so extreme. And it's when we start painting these extremist pictures of people on either side and polarizing ourselves through that perception that we start coming to the conflicts that we have today. So what do I think a Democrat is? I think a Democrat's somebody who believes in people over money. I don't know if this is at all going to be the traditional definition of a Democrat, but I personally value humanity over profit. I value the greater good over the individual. And a lot of those leanings do have ties to things like communist China, which makes it real easy for Republicans to go like, oh, he wants the greater good over the individual. That's what Xi Jinping says. You know, it's like, well, no, that's not what I'm saying. And when you say that, it just makes things worse. You know, I really, I think we need to take care of our citizens. And I think that needs to come first, America first, you know, so to speak. But I don't think that people have an understanding, especially on the right, of just how important it is that we get our international state solidified before we sorry, let me rephrase that. I don't think that people on the right necessarily understand how important it is that we wage war in Afghanistan, let's say, or Iraq, for our national security, for America first. Because this is a really neat and tight talking point that I came up with a couple months ago, but I didn't realize that China got 80% of their oil through the, what's it called? The Strait of Hormuz, or Strait of, what's the strait right there by Africa and Egypt? That goes from the Mediterranean down to, anyway, yeah. China gets 80% of its oil from the Middle East, and 80% or all of that comes through shipping lanes. So the U.S. having control of those shipping lanes and having a physical military presence in that area allows us to control the growth of China, which in turn allows us to have more leverage and more freedom here in our country, because it limits their ability to influence us. It's like a reverse thing, if that makes sense. Like, we're not directly helping America by keeping troops in China, or not in China, but in the Middle East. But we are helping America by limiting China, which limits their ability to influence us, which creates more freedom and opportunity for us here. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, I tangented really hard there.
It's okay. I'll just let you tangent.
Yeah, I can rant for like 10 minutes at a time, so feel free to jump in anytime.
No, I know you're trying to get that train to keep going.
Right. Yeah, trying to build that. I mean, did I answer your question on you know, kind of what I think a Democrat is? So I think that realistically we put people first, though. You know, we're more concerned about healthcare and God, it's funny how I draw a blank when I'm on a podcast, and that just
it's gonna happen.
Healthcare, you know, even things like universal basic income, I feel like are an inevitability in our country. So, what's your thoughts on universal basic income? Speaking of that,
honestly, I don't even have any thought on it.
Yeah,
because here's the thing: when it comes to, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about how incomes need to do this, right? Everybody says, I'm tired of this guy making money. I want to make more money. Well, get the damn job that guy has. Or do you have any college? I have no college. My wife has like 8 years. She has a doctorate. Okay. If I want to make her kind of money, I need her type of education. And I feel like there's a whole lot of other problems that we need to solve first before you even argue about that one. Honestly, there's too many other problems that are going to happen. Because if you continue this fight with income, all right, and everybody's saying they want $13 an hour, 14, 15, 16, whatever, they're just going to turn everything into a damn computer, and nobody's going to have a stinking job. And then they're going to want the government to bail them out. And they're going to do it for a little while, like we're doing right now, and making everybody feel warm and fuzzy when they get the little paper that says, oh, you're going to get a check. And so all these people that aren't, you know, are sitting at home and not really trying to do anything are getting these checks for now. But that money's going to dry up. And then what are you going to do? And right now is the perfect time to try to get a job and to try to do all these things to make your life better. So how about do that instead?
Honestly, I wrote a paper because I did go to college for business management, actually. And it was actually while I was going to college for business management that I realized just how sociopathic capitalism is. It operates on a profit first principle. Literally everything you do in business is designed to generate more profits, make more money. When it comes to corporations, specifically S corps and C corps, specifically an actual corporation, not just a business, but a corporation. Corporations are required by law to do the best they can for their shareholders. And the reason they have laws like that is obviously so the CEO doesn't go, we're investing in pink stuffed bunnies today, and I'm sorry we lost all your money. It's to protect investors. However, when you make it a law that corporations have to do everything they can to maximize their profits for the benefit of the shareholders, you create a situation where they will absolutely eke every drop of profit they can out of an individual, out of a system, out of a society, out of the government, out of anything you can to maximize that. And that's essentially sociopathy, in my opinion. Well, not even in my opinion. I mean, that's what sociopaths do. They milk and use others for their own benefit. So that sort of scenario is dangerous. And that's one of the reasons that I feel capitalism can be dangerous. Not that it's bad, because free markets and capitalism are like very obviously the ultimate system that we've come up with thus far.
I can tell you right now, if this country ever loses capitalism, it's because we've lost the country.
Yeah.
If we're not a capitalist nation, we're going to have a big problem. And you and I aren't going to be on here being able to share our views and beliefs, no matter how different they may be. So capitalism loves you. You just have to learn to love it back.
But it's also dangerous.
That not all of these corporations are as terrible as they can be. And we all know corporations that can be just god awful. And we've heard of some of them lately, and you've heard things about GameStop here lately, going on with them. And of course, like you said, there's corporations, there's all these laws and all this stuff. And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to pretend to know anything about that. But what I do know is that corporations do that. They eke everything they can out of people. But there are a lot of businesses that don't do that. And there are businesses who reinvest the money back into their people. A business like Morton Buildings, that's owned and ran by the people that work for the company, so they all have a vested interest in that company. There are tons of companies out there like that are part of this capitalist system that works, and we know it works. Could there be another system out there that we could tweak and do something with? I don't think so. I don't think that there's anything that is going to be satisfactory for everyone. I think capitalism works the way that it is set out to work. But we as a people, as a nation, have to understand who's getting screwed, why are they getting screwed, and what can we do to stop that? And the companies that are screwing these people over, you stop doing business with them and go to these other companies that are helping people and want to hire people and pay people better wages.
That's fair. And I mean, I agree with you on a lot of those points. I feel that capitalism really is the ultimate system of freedom. I mean, I think that it's case in point that in North Korea, where people are starving and dying and all that awful stuff, a lot of them are being arrested just for free trade, because they'll buy stolen, smuggled goods from China and then sell them in the country, because it really is the only way to get ahead. And I mean,
a lot of people will say, the United States needs to keep their nose out of everybody's business. Well, you know what? You might be right. But we have the freest nation that there is. Okay. We want everybody to be able to live their life to the best of their ability. You have all these opportunities, and, we bring things out. When you know that there's an opportunity, then you pounce. And it's what they've done in the Middle East, even with oil. And during my time in Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2004 to 2005, when I was there, we guarded oil pipelines. So tell me we weren't there for oil, and I'll kiss your ass. Yeah. Because I know we were. and we drop leaflets down from helicopters, they would continue to blow the pipelines. And we're dropping leaflets saying, stop blowing these pipelines. Oil is your livelihood. It's your new business. It's what's going to grow your country. It's what's going to bring you your freedom. And we want all these people to experience the freedom that America has. But guess what? All these other countries aren't ready. If they were ready for it, they'd be doing it. And some of these countries over there have been fighting since the days before Jesus was ever around. So you're not going to get them to stop now. So why can't we worry about ourselves first? And, I'm like you. I want to take care of the veterans. I want to take care of homeless people because I think that's a major, major problem that we don't look at hard enough. I don't care whether you're homeless for a couple of days or if you're homeless for years. It's not a problem that we look at enough.
Why do you think there are so many homeless people? If there's so much opportunity out there and everybody has the economic freedom to do what they want in our country, why are so many people starving and homeless?
Well, let's just hypothetically say we have to put a percentage on this. So we'll go 50-50, right? 50% of these people really have, like we talked earlier, been stuck behind the 8 ball, can't, get ahead in life, just seem to always get behind. 50% of the people just don't want to do anything. Okay. You just have people that think it's going to be better if I just sit here and do nothing and waste away, or what, they just don't care anymore. But now I don't think those are numbers. I'm just saying hypothetically. Right. But the main issue with homelessness, and I may be speaking out of school here because I know that, I've talked to people who have been homeless. I've seen people. I've, experienced living in a really crappy hotel room for a while. But I just think that nobody gives a damn to look at the problem and do anything to fix it. Nobody walks up to somebody and says, hey, what can I do to help you? And the guy's like, man, I can't find a job. Okay, tomorrow, me right here, I'm going to help you get a job. We're going to do something to help get you a job. All right, even as a capitalist nation, if I was president, I would go, you know what we're going to do? Every homeless person that you hire gives you a tax credit.
I like that. Now, I honestly like that idea.
What company wouldn't jump all over that because they want tax credits? Yeah. Every homeless person you hire gets a tax credit. And the longer they're with you, the longer you get to keep your tax credit. So they're not just pulling people in just to get the credit and then kicking them out the door. They continue to get it and it grows. So now you've taken this person off the street. You've given them a job. It gives them some stability. Then they continue to build from that, build from that, build from that. And the next thing you know, you've changed their life. But it's going to take somebody thinking outside the box to make that change happen, because we've seen nothing but the number of homeless people in this country grow, and especially with veterans. And that's something that's very close to my heart, and I know it is to you as well, is trying to help our veterans and our homeless veterans, get back and, be well in an environment that they're not used to. Because just being in combat for a year can completely rewire you and change everything about your body, the chemistry in your body and the way that you're wired. And now you come home and you're just expected to be this normal person, and you can't be that. It takes a lot of freaking time, to come down to be a normal person. And I was only deployed once, so think about the guys that are gone multiple times. I know a guy that was deployed 5 times. Mm-hmm. So it's just a major problem that this country doesn't look at. It's like something that they sweep behind the door under the rug and just, we're just going to act like they're not there. And that does.
Well, I noticed that about it. With the military, I mean, they use you, they get what they can out of you. And when you're used up, they toss you on the side. I mean, that was really how I felt. And I don't know if your experience was like that, but that's what it felt like when it came time for me to get out of the military. I was medically discharged. The day that decision was made, like, just everybody's faces shut off. Everybody I came across in the hall looked like they didn't know me, or like I was a shitbag, Right. Like,
all of a sudden you were a shit soldier because you had a problem.
Just day and night, one day to the next. And right. From then on, I was nobody to anybody. Everybody stopped talking to me, and it's like, Jesus, it's amazing how quick that switch flips in people's heads. Yeah. Like I was getting at earlier, though, on the topic of homelessness, When I was in college, I did a paper. I wrote a paper on this, and I don't know what the cost of living is like in Virginia. I also, just for the record, I think a national federal $15 an hour minimum wage is fucking stupid because it completely ignores states like, like the entire South where housing is $86,000 for a 3-bed, 2-bath on 5 acres, like $15 an hour isn't going to save the kids who have to pay $4,000 a month for rent in LA. And it's going to drive up the cost of living triple in states like Tennessee. I mean, it's the most ridiculous catch-all system and it makes no sense. But along those lines, at least, in order to get approved for an apartment, I mean, I'm sure you know this, you're an adult. In order to get approved for an apartment, you need to earn 3 to 4 times the amount for rent. Okay. So in Salem, Oregon, where I was living when I wrote the paper, the average cost of rent for a 1-bedroom apartment was $950 a month, which means you needed to bring in $3,050 a month gross, just for your apartment. Now that puts you at like $36,000 a year, roughly. About $36,000 a year at the time was the median average income for the state. Okay. So that means that half of people in Oregon couldn't even afford their own apartment. That is poverty, in my opinion. If you can't even work and get an apartment, can't even have a roof over your head, you're living below the poverty line. And that's not even counting things like cell phones, because I've had bosses turn me down. Well, not my bosses, but I've had employers deny me employment because I didn't have a cell phone, because they wanted to be able to get a hold of you for on call and stuff like that. And they can do that because it's not an ADA protected thing. I've had them turn me down because I didn't have a car. They said, I was like, well, I can take the bus. And they're like, well, the bus, people miss the bus. The bus doesn't always run on schedule and I can't have you missing work. So if you don't have a car, I'm not hiring you. Again, they can do that. So in order to work, at least for a moderate employer, you need a cell phone and a car. And now we're talking more money out of pocket. I mean, the cost of living has risen for the average American. The amount of things that businesses demand you pay for out of your own pocket in order to be employable has risen greatly. I mean, whether it's in terms of clothing or, personal possessions like cell phones and cars, your requirements are so much steeper. Your barrier to entry is so much steeper than it used to be. And I think that these little factors get lost in the overall mix. People are like, oh, why are there so many homeless people? I don't understand. There's so many jobs. Well, it's because we have intentionally squeezed, well, maybe not intentionally, but because corporations looking to maximize profits have made it physically impossible for anybody to make it on their own anymore. And people have lost hope. When you have to work 2 jobs or you have to have 3 roommates just to make it by, and every day is a struggle of like, oh God, because having roommates creates more problems. Like they have parties or they got a dog or it's just like it's so many things, little things. But
parties are the worst problems,
right? They can be then, or they skip rent, and then you're on your own. And God, what do you do then if they move out or get a girlfriend? Like your life is more stressful as a result. And I feel that this intensely capitalist society that has created this sort of negative human aspect to it, where we've been left behind, isn't going to get better. And I think that whether we do universal basic income to provide that compensation for these lost jobs, or whether we wait until they just automate all our jobs anyway, it's really not going to make a difference, because ultimately it is going to cost them less to hire some robot, to build a machine. And most jobs can be automated. I mean, the trucking industry is set to be the first one to go. Self-driving trucks will save billions of dollars and countless accidents every year because they just get in accidents less. I think that a lot of these things, and then that's where I guess progressive versus conservative comes in, because in my mind, we need to adapt to this stuff. We can't hold our society. We can't say like, this is our society now, this is how it's supposed to be, we need to keep it locked like this. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. And because it's going to evolve, we need to at least be open-minded about what ways we're going to work with that to adapt to it, as opposed to constantly fighting to keep things the way they used to be. So when that comes to Oh God, where do I even start from there? Biden or Trump? Because I think it's really interesting. Speaking of keeping things the same, Biden, for like 8 out of 10 of his policies that he's reviewed of Trump's, he's kept them in place. Like whether it comes to the immigration on the border, like he reviewed that and then was like, no, actually, I think keeping kids in cages is the best call.
Well, that's because Obama was the one that wrote it.
Well, yeah, and there's just no better solution. You know, that's the thing. Like, what do you do? And all the Republicans wanted to blow up on Democrats because this migration crisis at the border, you know, that Biden created, quote unquote. I think that the mere idea that was put out there was that Biden was going to accept all these refugees. Biden never said that. But the idea was that because he's a Democrat and he's a liberal, he's going to accept all these refugees. So the second they found out he won the election, of course they fucking swarmed the border because they thought they were going to get in.
They had a lot telling them to come over, you know, and also paying them. And when you're paying these people to come over, of course they're going to grab everybody they can and uncle and aunts and everybody and bring them all over here. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. He never said, I never heard Joe Biden say to come over here, but he never told anybody else to shut the hell up around him either.
Also true. Also true. And I guess he's as guilty as Trump in that sense, because Trump, I don't know how many times was like, oh, just smile and nod like the Proud Boys thing, you know, stand down and stand by or whatever. I was like, oh my, can't you just condemn it? Can't you just say the fucking words? Like, just say, I don't support white, or not necessarily white, but like white nationalism anyway. Like, just say, I don't support street extremists. Was it that hard? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that he did a good enough job of letting people know how he felt about it without just he never would come out and just say, I condemn this, I condemn that. But he would say, of course, I'm not for this, and this. You know, nobody that's a damn politician is going to sit there. This is what cracks me up about some of their arguments about, you know, being friends with the KKK and all this BS, because no politician anywhere today is going to sit out here and go, you know what I should do? Be friends with the KKK.
Yeah.
You know what? That's going to gain me a ton of votes. It ain't going to do shit for you.
Right.
Okay. I told a man right up the street here at a gas station one day, he was trying to recruit for the KKK. He was like, you want to join the Brotherhood? I said, buddy, there's a black man in the White House. I think your movement's over. I think your entire thing is over, and I think you're an ass. Now, where all these people went, I don't know, because we used to have a lot of you know, clan around this area and other areas, and they're all gone. They're all gone. So where are all these people?
Where are they gone though, or are they underground?
Where are all these hate groups that Trump created that I want to know about? Because I'm not a member of one of them, and I don't hate anybody. I think there are some that are underground because the people would get fired from their jobs if they were to be found out. Mm-hmm. So of course they're going to hide and not do it.
This was kind of an interesting thing. So for the longest time, up until probably about a month and a half ago, I really felt that the race issue in America was being overblown. I felt that systemic racism was an idiotic idea. I'm like, if you can't, if you're going to say you weren't hired because you're black, then you got to have proof. And if you can't prove it, then it's not real. You know, I can say personally, I went to a job interview one time for, God, what was it? I think it was like a recycling facility or something like that. And I applied for an office position there. And so I show up and there's me sitting there and there's another lady sitting in the waiting area. They come out and they're like, Dana? And they look at her. And she doesn't look up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. And they looked at me like, you're Dana? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, why don't you just come on back? And they interviewed me for, I swear to God, 3 minutes before telling me I wasn't getting the job. And as I'm looking around the office, I realize everybody else there's a female. Yeah. And I'm like, did they bring me in here because they thought I was a female? And now that I'm here, they're like, I got denied a job because I'm a man. That was really interesting. I'm like, I never thought I would experience something like that. So it's not always obvious, and there's not proof. You know, I can't prove that happened to me. Right. I can't tell anybody. I can tell you that that's what happened, but you know, there's no paperwork. It's not like I heard him snicker about something as I walked out the door. And so if that's happened to me, I have to at least believe that it's happened to somebody else because of their race, right, and they were aware of it.
Right.
And if that sort of thing's going on, there would be some sort of evidence of that existing, either politically or you know, societally. Like there would be some signals somewhere, right? Well, this is where I went on a different track a couple months ago, because I heard a recording from, I believe, 1978. It was a Republican campaign manager giving a speech at some Republican donor party or something like that. And he was saying essentially, well, you can't say N-word anymore. You can't do this. You can't do that. So we got to start talking about, you know, different terms so that we can keep them out of our lives. You know, we need to start talking about social conditioning and gentrification and all these like other terms that don't get us tagged as racist. And I was like, this is a racist man saying the same words that we're hearing today in society from the Republican Party, saying that you need to say those instead of racist things, specifically so that nobody calls you a racist. And I'm like, if they're saying the words and he said that those words are racist, then that means that this ties together. You know, this is from a Republican campaign manager. I would have to show you the clip because obviously that's not a very good debatable soundbite. But that was when I started changing my opinion on it, that perhaps there might actually be some measure of systemic racism, especially hearing that from a member of the Republican Party. I was like, whoa, you know, okay, I didn't believe it until now, but now that I'm hearing you say that, it's a different thing.
I don't know if it's systemic racism as much as it is that guy's just an ass.
That could be.
You know,
it could be.
I know that we all understand that there is a race issue in the nation, okay? And I think that most of us understand that. The problem is there's a very small percentage of people who don't care. And their job is to make things as difficult as possible and to continue to not care. And it's like anything else. Why are there rules? Why is there law enforcement? Why do we have anything that can kind of be a buzzkill? Because there's that small percentage of people that's going to ruin it for everybody. And so, you know, my biggest thing that when I leave from a conversation with somebody is the biggest thing that I want to impart on people is be free to believe whatever you want to believe, but understand that this is the best country in the world. Capitalism loves you. You just have to learn to love it back. Okay. And you don't have to hate everything so damn bad. And if you let go of hate, you let go of this stuff, everybody expects everything to be perfect for them. And it's not going to be. We're not handing out damn participation trophies because you did something in life. You know, if you choose to sit down and be a nobody, then you will be treated as such by a lot of people, unfortunately. You know, if you want to make something of yourself, you're in a great country to try to do that. If you want to make something of yourself and you're an African American, there are a lot of really great HBCUs that you can go to now because of the money that Donald Trump gave. And we'll see how much Biden is willing to do if he's going to do the same thing. I doubt the figures that Biden comes up with are going to be anything close to what Donald Trump came up with. So when you want to see who actually cares about black people in America, we're going to find out when it really comes down to it, when the feet hit the ground in Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, Seattle, some of these cities that are having these major problems because they're not done yet. And we're probably going to see military action in some of these cities coming up here pretty soon. So you want to see who's treating who well, look at these blue areas versus these red areas.
Yeah, I think I would really not like to see military action. I mean, bringing in the military specifically to handle civilian matters is a very large step in the wrong direction, in my opinion. I mean,
well, then they don't want cops. So what do we do when they don't want cops?
See, that was so stupid. That was so stupid. With the Chop in Seattle, that was the most ridiculous. Yeah. So their idea was, all right, we're going to kick all the cops out and we're going to install our own private security of armed guards because that's different than cops somehow. And then those people started shooting people. And I'm like, what do you expect to happen? Like,
so think about it from a conservative standpoint. If you want me to believe in any of this stuff at all, and you want me to believe that cops are the problem, okay, what I've seen is people not doing what the hell they're told to do. What I've seen is people not doing what they're instructed to do by a law enforcement officer, period. Mm-hmm. You could go down the list of all these, and I'm going to tell you, this is what happened. This, we can go through every shooting, every problem if you want. But for the most part, it's people not doing what they're told to do. Then you have a thing like Chaz come along. Then you have people out in the street chanting, "We want dead cops." When do we want them now? Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, stuff like that. And you think a conservative is going to change their mind and change their vote?
Yeah, no. I mean, that's just the wrong way to go about it. And honestly, that's where I want to separate your average Democrat from that extremist group, because there was a period of time, about 3 whole days, where after the riots broke out in Portland, because I'm from Oregon, so that's the one I'm most familiar with. There was about 3 whole days where I'm like, yeah, people are angry. People are going to burn stuff. Like, a message needs to be sent. Cool. And then day 4 came. And then day 5, and then day 50, and then day 150. And I'm like, listen, this went far, far beyond any sort of initial outrage. This went far beyond any sort of outburst of protest, of anger. This is just anarchy at this point. And I think that most Democrats would agree. I mean, I've seen plenty of conservatives share pictures of like, black statues or statues of African Americans or people who freed slaves being defaced, and people have no clue, like these things are being defaced because they see a white guy on a statue, and that's just stupid. And there's always going to be stupid people. And I think that it's important that we all remember on both sides of the fence here that that's not us, man. That's not your average American. That's not even something that most people support. And it's just that algorithm.
It's probably someone being paid to do it.
Oh, probably. But see, this is the thing, too. You bring that up, and I think that there's a double layer to that a lot of people forget, because the conspiracy can always go deeper. You say, people are paid to flood the border, right? Well, what if the Republicans were paying for that just so they could set up the migration crisis and use it as a political talking point? I mean, it could go either way. Like, it may not be.
Yeah, but it was never part of the Republican conversation until the Democrats brought it up.
Fair.
It was never part of the Republicans didn't even have it on the docket, or it wasn't even going to be talked about. We weren't going to address
politically.
it.
Who benefits politically from Biden having a migration crisis? It's the Republicans.
Well, I mean, now, and here's the thing, do I think it's Biden's migration problem? No, I think it's Obama's migration problem. I think this goes back to Obama and his failed policies and all the things that he did to try to ruin this damn country. Now, you want to talk about somebody that I despise more than anything is Barack Obama. Because you want to tell me that Donald Trump is worthy of all this hate. Donald Trump never, ever paid a dime to anybody for any person or anybody being held, any terrorist group. Meanwhile, Obama loads up a plane full of $70 million and sends it to Iran to pay for citizens, which turned out they're not even citizens of the United States.
Yeah.
They were from China.
So ask yourself, why would he do that? I mean, like,
because he's an idiot.
No,
because he doesn't care about this country. That's why.
He's got more information.
It gives Iran the money they need and the weapons they need.
Right. So why would he do it?
Those are his friends, because that's who he works for. That's who he's working for.
See, I don't think so. I don't. This is where we differ. I think that you and I don't have enough information to answer that question. I really do.
I mean, we're not on the inside of things, but I mean, just looking at it from the outside in, why the hell would a president in the middle of the night load up an airplane full of that much money and pay for people who are not even U.S. citizens? Yeah,
no, it doesn't make sense, which makes me at least go, okay, well, there had to be a reason, because that's ridiculous. You know, like, I mean, nobody would do that.
How is that not an impeachable offense? Actually, it is, and nobody did a damn thing about it. The same way that nobody's doing anything now. And I mean, I can tell you right now, I'm conservative as can be, but Mitch McConnell's starting to piss me off, sitting there in his little turtle shell, not doing a damn thing and not raising any hell about what's going on right now, not raising any hell about Joe Biden and wanting to know who's in control of things, because it's not Joe Biden. So
what makes you think that?
The guy can barely put a sentence together. You expect me to believe that he's actually sitting down and doing all this work and putting all this together? There's absolutely no way. Now, I'm not saying that Trump did all those things and that he just sat there and wrote policy or anything, but the man, at least cognitively, was in better shape than Joe Biden is. There's nothing, when I look at Joe Biden now, it concerns me. It used to be funny, okay? I used to watch Hannity and laugh along at the gaffes and all the stuff, you know, that he would say, and the kids rubbing his leg in the water and all the stupid things that he would say. And, you know, Hannity loves bringing it up every night. They talk about it. Hannity still talks about him. It's just a thing. It's never going to go away on Hannity's show forever. It's the gas.
Time makes his money.
But I have to say, me personally, I'm to the point now where I'm more concerned about it. Whether I like Biden or not, he's still the president. I want my president to look like an outstanding individual, to look strong, to look healthy, to look like he's not going to take any shit off anybody. And I want him to say it exactly like that. I'm sick and tired of people acting like we have to have these squeaky clean representatives and people who say things the right way and do these doggone great ads and all these things that people are going to just love. Just be yourself, man, and say, look, I'm going to be this type of guy. This is the president that I'm going to be. This is the stuff that we're going to do for the people, and we're going to get it done. And if you don't like it, you can get the hell out of here. In fact, I'll institute a way to get your ass on a plane and out of this country, a one-way ticket paid for by the United States of America, and it'll be cheaper than these freaking buyouts and sending people money that we're doing right now.
Well, by sending people money, I mean, this ties back into what I was saying about the U.S. controlling oil in the Middle East. By sending money to other countries like Pakistan and Egypt and all that stuff as part of the COVID relief deal, we really are minimizing our own risk in this world by, for one, limiting the spread of coronavirus. If we can get people vaccinated, there's going to be fewer variants that spring up and less likelihood that we get infected with something even worse later on down the road. There's a lot of good reasons for paying this money out there, which is why, going back to what I said a moment ago, I think it's always so important when something doesn't make sense to make sense of it. You know, like, why would we do that? Why would we send $700 million to Pakistan for transgender studies or something like that? Like, that makes no sense. But when you look into it, you can find out that, hey, transgender people are at a higher risk of socializing without masks. And therefore, we can decrease the number of deaths in America by 4% by funding some stupid program in some other country that we don't care about and nobody knows anything about. Like, it all has a bigger picture, and there's a reason that these people with PhDs and experts in the government make these decisions that a lot of us just look at on the surface and form an opinion off of.
Right. Just like that, you brought up a very good study right there, actually, because it's one that a lot of conservatives were not for. They're like, why in the hell are we sending money for transgender studies? Yeah. And then and we're like, hold on, let's find out why and figure out what we're actually doing. Now, did we kind of use them and whatever? Yeah, sure. But here's a little bit of money to go along with it. All right,
Yeah.
but it was a very good thing that you brought that up, because a lot of conservatives just automatically, just based on the word transgender studies, lose their freaking minds.
Oh, right. And it's a talking point. You know, like you were mentioning earlier, the news. I don't believe the news is fake. You mentioned fake news a lot, and you know, that was a question we could ask you is, you know, why is fake news fake? I don't think it's fake. I think that it's so I think that the information they tell you is factual in that, but the picture it paints is completely different. You know,
you
and
think
I think
that CNN gives facts?
No,
Holy
I do. And
shit.
I think Fox gives facts. I think they all give facts. They'll give one fact.
I
and
think
then
they're facts of the day that have
seconds.
been created in a room somewhere. Yeah.
All right, let me put it this way. When I was going to the gym a couple of years ago, I used to watch the news while I was doing my run or my elliptical thing. So I'd be on the elliptical for an hour. I'd watch the news for an hour. And it was the first time I'd had cable access in probably 8 or 9 years. So I wasn't sure who to watch. I started out on MSNBC, couldn't handle it. Went to CNN, absolutely couldn't handle it, and went to Fox. And I'm like, at least on Fox News, it's a little less crazy, because on CNN, they'll be like, so today Donald Trump signed a declaration stating that he hates black people. So we brought an expert on today to tell us just about how racist Donald Trump is. And they'll like build a whole narrative off that. And it's like, wait a minute. Like the whole thing was based off one paper where he said one sentence and it wasn't really that, you know, and so it's skewed so horribly. Mm-hmm. But they all do that, you know, and all the 24-hour news cycles do that.
Well, it's the same way
Hannity. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
Don't
the
get me
same
started
way
on
that
him.
This is the same. I love Hannity. I'm just going to tell you now.
Oh, we could butt heads over that one.
I love the show.
I want to just punch him in the mouth. He's got a face that just makes me want to just straight jab.
It wouldn't hurt. He's got the jaw. He's got his people.
He does. He's got that serious, you know. Yeah, I don't know.
Hey,
sorry.
He's making his kind of money and got the girl that he's got. He can make whatever face he wants, I guess.
That's true.
So.
He can laugh at me from his yacht as security tackles me, you know?
That's right. That's right. But yes, it's their job to drum all this stuff up and to do, but I don't think that anybody who is going to take responsibility for the hate that's been drummed up, who's going to take responsibility for the cities that were burned down, you know, who's going to say, man, you know what? We should have done better. We could have done better, and we're not going to do this again. When you put things like this out on the news, when people act like that, it just makes more people want to do it. If you don't pay them any attention, it's just like a child who's right at you just all day long, all day, and you just feed them what they want. Give them what they just shut up and go away. Just give me a second. If you do the same thing to these, you treat those people the same way, you get the exact same reaction you get from a child. And so they're going to act that way. They're going to act out whether they're being paid for it or not. And so the media said, hey, it's okay to act like a total jackass and burn your city down. And then you've got people sitting there on CNN going, well, it's a mostly peaceful protest. Meanwhile, everything in the background's on fire.
Fair, but how do you feel when it came to the insurrection? Because I'm going to call it an insurrection. I imagine you don't feel the same, but that's how I view it.
I don't think that is an insurrection.
How do you define an insurrection then? Let's start there.
It's a good question. And it's something that I haven't put that much thought into to give you a good answer on, to be honest with you, because I just don't feel like that's what that was. I could be totally wrong, and it is. By definition, maybe it is, right? But do we know that those people were actually doing that? Why am I seeing a cop just stand still and then let people in a locked door? Why are people having such easy access to a building? Why is a plastic chair breaking a window to a building that has bulletproof glass? If you go back and watch some of this stuff, you'll see some of these things that I'm bringing up, and you're asking yourself the same questions. I posted a ton of this stuff on my Facebook the day that it happened, because I'm very meticulous at looking at video and going back and watching things in slow frame rates and whatever. And when you look at this, People are breaking windows with plastic chairs.
Now, see, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'll see if I can bring that up, and I'll have to send it to you and see what you think about it. Because I had people messaging me about the same thing, and they're like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I'm like, plastic chairs, windows, like, it's a bulletproof window.
Are they, though?
Yeah, the whole building is surrounded in them. I've been there.
Okay, I haven't been there, so I don't know. But those windows did not look. Typically bulletproof glass.
Yeah, they didn't look like it,
inch and a half
but
thick.
Therefore, you can't put a chair through. You can't
I saw
put
2x4s going through them.
So
did you watch the trial, the actual impeachment trial?
Yes,
you did.
I did.
So after having seen that, what were your thoughts on it? Did it change your opinion on the situation at all? Did any new information come to light there that you felt? No?
Honestly, all it did for me was verify that what the Democrats were going to do was make sure that there was going to be 4 years of hell, so that when it came time to vote for president again, people would say, holy shit, whatever it takes to get this over with, just get it over with and get him out of here. They hated him that bad because they knew that he could come in and fix things. The man's got a ton of money. He's rich. He knows how to work the system just like all these other rich sons of bitches that are in Washington, D.C. So he knows better than most of them know. And all he did was make a fool out of him. So that's why you have the media. You have all these pundits. You've got all these politicians that hate this guy because he made 75% of them look like lazy asses who didn't get a thing in the world done. This guy got more stuff done than any other president in the first 90 days. He spent more money on veterans than any other president. He did more for black people than any other president, gave more to black colleges than any other president. Somebody
outside of the colleges thing,
show
that's
me
the only thing.
No, it's not the only thing, but I don't have all my notes sitting right here telling me every great thing that Trump did because I've tried to not make it all about Trump. But since we're going, Biden, Obama, Trump, whatever, I'm just saying Donald Trump did more. Whatever came out of his mouth got done. Good, bad, and different.
What about the wall?
It got done. The wall needs to be done. And that damn thing, I don't care if it's 50 feet tall. It needs to be 50 feet tall. People say, well, a bird can't fly through it. I don't give a shit.
You know, a 12-year-old girl holds the speed record for climbing that wall, right?
Oh, I'm sure that, we're never going to be able to completely stop everything. Do
you think that it's even worth the money building a wall in 2021?
I think that it's worth it. I think it's worth it because we've seen what happens. How can I look at these families that have been impacted by people coming over who weren't supposed to be here, that have been murdered, and say it's not worth it? If you've lost a family member to some of these people and to these gang members that come over here, what if a wall does stop them? Because we've imploded half of their tunnels. The tunnels are gone.
But they just keep digging more.
And they can try to dig more, but we've got more people working the border. We've got a wall. I think it's going to be very effective. It's already been very effective in some of the places where we've had it. But look at these areas that they're trying to keep absolutely no border wall at all. Look, our country doesn't say we have a problem with people coming here. We just have a problem with you coming here illegally. We even let you go on and come on in, but come in and be legal. I mean, we've got people here in my own town that just became citizens, and congratulations. They think it's terrific. It's the greatest thing to them. That's exactly what they want. Mm-hmm. That's what America's supposed to be like. Not, hey, bring your shit and everybody with you and just do whatever the hell you want to do. Oh, and you're a gangbanger? Great. That's exactly what we want is more of y'all. Let's make it easier for gang members to come over here and bring their drugs with them. I don't care. Build the damn wall. I don't care how tall it needs to be. I don't care what you need to make it out of. Build it and build it good and build it so nobody can ever get over that son of a bitch until we open the door and let them through there. Because I cannot in any good conscience look at a family and say, hey, I know you guys think the wall needs to be built, but it's a stupid idea.
I don't think that the wall makes a difference I mean, all right, let's take a look at all the different factors here. Let's start with the fact that 80% of people who are in the country illegally came here legally. They came here on a green card, on a visa, on a work visa, and just overstayed. So 80% of the illegal immigrants that are in our country didn't walk across the border because there was no wall. If we take a look at the remaining 20%, really only a very small percentage of them try to walk across the desert. Most of them either take a plane or sneak in the back of a car through a border checkpoint. There's multiple different ways to enter the country. A wall would really only stop maybe, I mean, I'm guessing here, but probably somewhere between 5% or less of people coming over illegally. So if we were going to invest billions of dollars into some sort of system to stop people from coming over here illegally, wouldn't it make more sense to do that targeting the 95% as opposed to the 5%?
Well, but it's like you said, you have a very large percentage of people who don't mean harm that are just here. Or maybe they've overstayed, like you said. And most of them, that's exactly what's happened, is they've come in and they've overstayed. But like I said earlier, everything that you have in life, and this is included, there's going to be a small percentage of people who screw it up for the rest. And unfortunately, for our neighbors to the south, who I love their food. I frequent places like that all the time.
Hell yeah.
You know, I've even had to be very clear with them that when they knew I was a Trump guy, you know, they were not. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. They were like, oh, he hates us. He wants this. And I sat them down and I was like, no, this is what we're actually trying to accomplish. This is why we're trying to accomplish it. Now, you can think that it's this, that, or the other. Go get your information from someone else who thinks differently than me. Make up your own mind. They did that, then found out about Donald Trump. Now they like it.
It is interesting, too, that a lot of Hispanic people tend to lean more conservative Republican. I find that very interesting, especially considering how hard the left tries to focus on the race issue when it comes to...
Because Donald Trump sells the idea of America, and that's exactly what they came here for. Right. They don't have what we have in Mexico. They do the best they can with what they've got, but people come here for the better life, to run their own businesses, to be more successful. Donald Trump totally ran on that, and his whole making America great again, just like Reagan. I mean... all he did was say some stuff that Reagan said and got elected president. Okay. But yeah. I love Donald Trump. I like what he did. I don't agree with everything the man did or said, but we're not always going to agree with everybody. I'm a huge fan of John F. Kennedy as well. Actually, he's my first favorite president because he actually cared about people.
Mm-hmm. So you feel that Donald Trump actually cared about people?
I feel like he cares about American people, yes. And I think that as the American president, that's what you need. You need to be able to differentiate between a family in Turkey and a family in America.
So when he said to let California burn, you feel that's caring about Americans?
I think that was one of the comments that I didn't like. Okay. Because... I get what he meant by it was they've done this to themselves by the things they do, the decisions they make, the politicians they have, blah, blah, whatever. Okay. In a much better way, he could have said what he was trying to say, because that's what he meant was you guys have made your decision. Now you get to lay in bed with it. Okay?
So this is the thing, though. This is where it bugs me still, because, yes, I know that's what he was trying to say. He was trying to say, like, hey, you Democrats have fucked this all up. It's all on you. Now you need to deal with it. How is it any political party's fault that a forest is burning?
Because there is a forest. There's a plan in place that every president has in helping with deforestation and control burns to keep problems from just like what they had in California happen. And nobody did their job.
So what is this plan? This is the first I'm hearing of this.
All right. So, well, here's the thing. All I'm saying is every president has a plan. What his plan was versus Obama's, I don't know. But when you look at the numbers and you look at how the money was spent and what they did, nobody did anything during Obama's term in office.
Oh no, wait.
They did no deforestation. There was nothing to help California in that matter. Even people who lived there said we needed a controlled burn. We needed this forest gone a long time ago. We knew this shit was going to happen.
Right.
And look at what happened.
I mean, it's been known since the natives were here.
As a not professional of that, I don't know a lot about that. I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about deforestation, but I do know when you look at the numbers, and you can find them. And I remember looking at them. I just don't have everything in front of me because it gets over. It bugs the shit out of me when you're trying to just have a conversation and you give somebody an answer. They're like, "Oh, prove it," and you're like, "Well, I got it written down. So I got it from this source. So, well, that's a bullshit source." So by the time you get done giving all your sources, you still don't believe each other and you've said all this stuff in. So it still doesn't matter.
To be fair, just a bit about me, I will change my opinion if you can provide me a good source. For example, I have people in my community I have a person in my community who has some rather extreme beliefs out there on things like 5G and COVID vaccines and
do they believe that 5G is bad for you and all that?
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. And so I've worked with them for really years now. I've talked to, they know who I'm talking about. I've talked to them for years about this sort of stuff. And my goal with them has been to try to get them to prove it, because if you can provide sources for your information, it shows not only you've done your research, but too that you've at least learned to identify truth from falsehood. Granted, when we're just having a conversation like this, I don't expect you to have it all handy or anything like that. But a lot of times the sources are incorrect. People will link me articles from fucking Instagram. I'll get like some Instagrammer and I'm like, that's not a source. That's just some person telling me.
What's that? The bumblebee?
yeah. Stuff like a Babylon bee and stuff like that. And I'm like, really? Come on. This isn't a real source. So, but if somebody does show me a good source, I will change my opinion. Like if you're telling me that there is a federal plan for doing controlled brush burns in forests to control large scale forest fires, that's a nationally federally established plan that all their states and especially Republican states follow, but Democrats don't, then yes, I'm going to join your side on that. But if you're making that plan, it's a plan. Every state has one. Every state has to have one, and they turn it in. And so it becomes the federal part of the plan for whatever state it is. Okay. And so California had this plan. They didn't implement the plan. They didn't institute any of it. Obama did nothing under that plan. I think they said that it was about 30%. It was less than 30% of the work is what they had done, and that was it. I see. So if you're looking to put blame on somebody, do we feel that that's more of a problem with government as a whole, a bureaucratic, oversized government as a whole?
It's got to be. I think government's way too big anyway.
Yeah.
I think there's way too much going on, man. And it's even from a local level, when you start out with something here, it's like you've got to get in contact with your, superintendent for your area or somebody on your school board. And we just had this issue here, myself, my own family. They're trying to tell me that my child is supposed to go to kindergarten at some school that's miles up the road versus, I'm sorry, my dog is going ballistic over here.
Oh, that's okay. Can barely hear it.
So
good noise cancellation.
Oh, good deal. So, but they're trying to say that he doesn't go to the school that's miles up, right up the street here, but he's supposed to go to this one that's, 5-6 miles up the road. Mm-hmm. But I could hit a golf ball to this other school. So instead of just calling one person, we end up having to talk to 3 different people. Then we've got to talk to somebody with the county, and we've got to talk to somebody. So we end up having to talk to 5 people over one problem that one person controls.
Yeah.
And all 5 people agree with us that it's a stupid thing that my child should be going to this school, but none of them do anything to fix it, even though they can. And so,
I have no words. It's just true.
And that's
There's
what
a
I'm
lot
saying.
of bureaucratic mess.
Even at a local level, that's too many people. And think about the money that is saved when you get all these people out of the middle of this and just get rid of them. Just stop all this crap. It's too many people working for the government. We've got too much government oversight, too much government in our business.
Mm-hmm.
And get that out of there, and then let's see how much money we can save. And then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We've gone through COVID. All right. We're supposedly on the back end of this thing. I personally don't believe that. I think we're just now we're going to start seeing a lot of things coming down the pike that are going to be terrible. Like $5 a gallon fuel. We've already seen you can't build a home. The price of lumber is astronomical. The price of everything is going up. You can't buy things. You can't even buy patio furniture, for Christ's sake. If you want some money, sell your patio furniture. You can turn around and buy it back next year, probably at a discount.
I literally bought patio furniture yesterday, so now I'm hurting. $370 for a patio set. Like,
oh really?
Oh god, it was really only a $200 set, and I just got ripped off.
Now there's some areas where you can't buy anything. They don't have anything. I mean, even trying to buy a jet ski. Mm-hmm. We went looking, trying to buy one of those. I had to drive 3 hours away because nobody has any jet skis anywhere around. And I mean, I'm talking like even up at the lake where we're at, nobody has any jet skis. I had to drive 3 hours south where there's no lake to buy a damn jet ski. So we got on the back end of this thing, but we're going to see more of this is the point I was getting at. Is there's going to be more things that aren't available. Things are going to cost more. I think they're going to pass the savings on to us, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to be the ones that pay the taxes. We're going to be the ones that pay more to these corporations. Corporations don't pay taxes. The people that shop there do. We do it when we buy the damn products. So we take care of paying their taxes for them. Plus they're getting tax breaks from, and economic incentives out the yin yang so they can stay there.
I mean, that's true.
That's something else that just gets me started about businesses and how they just wasteful spending gets on my nerves.
Wasteful spending?
Wasteful spending. I find pretty annoying.
That's understandable. I mean, any sort of, especially as a fiscal conservative, I would imagine it'd probably be one of your bigger pain points.
Yeah, I can't stand it. And especially when you're looking at a system that's so broken and you're just like, damn it. I know that I could fix this if I had the power.
See, this is the thing with corporations. This has always been, and it really took me watching a debate between John F. Kennedy and Nixon to really understand this. And that I watched a debate between them, and I swear to God, I'm too young. We're both too young because their conversation, their debate between each other was everything that you and I would probably agree two American presidents or presidential candidates debating should be. There was no animosity between them. There was class. And
they treated each other with dignity and respect.
Exactly. And on top of that, they both agreed on the same problems as opposed to focusing on two different topics, like race and war or financial homelessness, that kind of stuff.
They agree on the same principles or the same topics, but the principles might be a little different and how to solve the problem is different.
Exactly. And that's something that I feel that we've lost in our country. I mean, going back to the polarization of our citizenship, nobody has the focus or attention really anymore or the knowledge.
No. Did so many people want to? Here's the other thing that Donald Trump did. Okay. And this is my thing. And I always say this to people. I'm always like, this is what Donald Trump did. Donald Trump made you pay attention to politics.
He did do that.
If you never paid attention before in your life, you paid attention, whether you liked the man or you hated him, but you freaking paid attention. Mm-hmm. Okay. And now you're still kind of paying attention. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. After the election, I took a little break. I was like, I'm going to sit back and see what happens. Because I was really just so certain that there was something in the works that was going to just come out and bust the Democrats, and Donald Trump was going to be president, or at least some conservative was going to be president. I thought for sure that they were going to do something. I was not part of the Q train at that time, nor have I ever been on that train full song. You know what I'm saying?
I do want to talk to you about Q. So
okay, well, let me shut up with my rant then, and you just continue on, because I'll just rant forever.
Oh, well, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but yeah, honestly, with Q, can you explain a bit to me about what that was?
So Q initially, I think what it was meant to be was an information source only, and people started taking it to mean more than it was. And I think some people took it literally, meaning that it's the president trying to get a message out. I don't think it was ever the president trying to get a message out. It was either people that were working for the president that were trying to do good, and I think they got found out and they got rid of them, got fired, whatever. Something happened where Q went from a really good information source and you could see something working in the background to all of a sudden it just turned into just weird posts and things that weren't meaning something anymore. But then you still had all these morons that didn't want to see maybe this is a psyop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you've got all these conservative people Donald Trump has in the palm of his hand. Okay, he's about Jesus, guns, and freedom. How much more American can you get? How many more conservatives do you need, man? He had so many conservatives, he had all these gun-toting people. How do you take a group of these gun-toting Americans and make them sit down and shut up? You create a thing like Q that tells them that somebody else is already doing something, that you don't need to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it went from being an information source to a psyop that got everybody to sit down, shut up, and let whoever's really controlling this thing control it and get what they want to get and do what they want to do. And they did exactly that. And now it's over with. You know, Trump can tell me every day that they're in court and they're doing this and that. I don't believe it. I hate to say that out loud, because I think Donald Trump was a man's man and he was trying to do right. I think that when he spoke, he meant what he said. I think he wanted to do good things. But once he got to D.C., you see just how deep and dark and nasty people really are. And there's sometimes you just can't do shit about it. And I think that that's what he got involved with. And that's why, I mean, I don't see the same enthusiasm for him to run again, because I think that we're just going to go back into this mode of hatred, you know, vitriol, all these bad feelings, all this arguing and hatefulness. I think we need a female to run.
A female?
I think we need a female.
I shouldn't sound so surprised, but that actually, it caught me off guard there.
I think the conservatives need a really good female to run. And even if her last name is Trump, it would be okay. I think she would win.
Yeah. I can see that.
But to answer your question about Q, I used it for information only because I was too afraid to jump on the train with that, because it just seemed too good to be true. Right? Anybody with half a brain and enough time, you could sit around and try to figure out what the hell they're talking about. Who's going to give away their game plan? You're not going to put your game plan out there for people to figure out.
No.
So all these people, well, Q said, the Q did this. You know, I would post, Q said this happened at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Q did that, or I would go and look at things or whatever. If it made sense, I would post it. If it didn't make sense, I wouldn't post it. You know, I use things for information. I don't think I ever posted things or did videos and was like, you know, oh, Q said this and, you know, it's going to be all these things. Because I got to the point where I was like, what if? And I think I did a video. It was like back in February of election year. I said, what if Q is a psyop? What if it's just to get you to sit down, shut up, and hold on because they don't want you to do anything? How do you control a bunch of gun-toting citizens? You create this psyop.
Yeah.
And they did a very good job.
They did. And
they still have people to this day that believe that something's going to happen and that something's going to happen in court. And I'm like, no, nothing's going to happen. Donald Trump is, if he's in court, he's in court. It's going to go through appeals because he's going to win some, he's going to lose some. Then it's going to go to the Supreme Court. They're going to go in front of Congress and testify. Trump is adding regular people who have been silenced, who've been censored, whether it's with Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. You know, I had a Twitter and a YouTube, and they took that stuff down.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm a nobody. I'm a redneck from Virginia. Like, I'm no one, you know?
Fair.
But it's because the things that I said, you know, at times kind of made sense, or they were pro-conservative remarks, you know? That was my thing, is I did pro-conservative remarks, and if people wanted to watch it, they watched it.
See, this is what I struggle to understand, because you feel that you were taken down because of the words that you used, because you were speaking facts about something, or that you were providing information that the liberal media doesn't like. What if instead of that, it was just misinformation?
Well, if it was misinformation, the problem that I have with it is anything that I ever posted, I cited. Mm-hmm. So it either had the site that came with, so if I posted something about a story, or if it was from Reuters, obviously I would have that on there, you know, or just have the link that goes right to Reuters or to wherever the hell it came from, even if it was a CNN deal, because I do get CNN updates. I get them on my phone like everybody else gets little notifications, because I want to see how they're spinning stories too. Because Fox gets it and they're like, oh, okay. And then CNN gets it, MSNBC. By the end of the day, it's 4 different damn ways, but somebody's a racist and somebody's, you know, against gay people and somebody is doing something else. It's always a different story, a different version, the further you go down the line.
Right.
So I always wanted to make sure that what I said could be vetted by something else. So if it was something like somebody's voting record, it came straight from the record of Congress online. I always made sure to put that on there if I talked about anything. Look, my own congressman here where I live is a Republican, and I've come out against that guy because I don't like what he does. I don't like that he takes money from big companies and big corporations, and the things that he has voted on, I am not a fan of, because I think that what he's done is kind of harmed our environment in certain areas of our district. And so I came out against the guy, and you'd have thought that that was terrible because the guy wouldn't debate where I was going to go, and he didn't want to pay any attention to me because I'm a conservative, but I'm speaking out against him. Mm-hmm. And he didn't like it. But, you know, what conservatives care about the environment, I guess. How stupid of me to give a damn.
What are your thoughts on global warming also?
And I don't know. I'm going to call Al Gore and ask him what he thinks I should.
I mean, it was 117 here at my house not even a week and a half ago. And,
yeah, that's been kind of strange. It's been really strange, but I don't know. I honestly, when it comes to that stuff, I try to stay away from it because I just know that it's hot as hell somewhere.
It's always true. Do you think
I know that it's been hot over there. It's been the same way here. I'm not saying it can't be a thing, because I'm sure it can be, but I'm not that educated in that part of it to where I really say much about it.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, it's always good when you know your limitations too on what you can talk about.
Well, you can't know everything, you know.
You really
There's only
can't.
so much in the time in the day for you to research things, and
right.
Like yourself, I want to be, I want to be as intelligent as I can be and research things as much as possible. But it's just not always possible to have everything in front of you all the time, and
everybody's
be
got
able to,
time constraints,
and be on top of every topic. If you could, then all these problems would be solved, right? The president wouldn't need all these people in all these different positions telling him all these different things. Mm-hmm. So we try, we do the best we can.
I think that's part of what makes a great leader, in my opinion, is somebody who's capable of assembling a team of experts that will provide critical insight into your decision-making process that will allow you to make the optimal decision at any given time. Does that seem like a fair assessment for a leader?
Yeah, I think so. And that's like I said earlier with Trump, I feel like he was just surrounded by too many yes men. I think that there could have been a lot more done if he would let people do their jobs. And that's the biggest thing. And I think that we saw that with General Petraeus leaving. We saw different secretaries come in and out, and I don't like that. That's the part I don't like when you see a lot of overturn like that in your leadership. I don't like seeing that.
Do you think that's indicative of a poor leader?
I think it can be very much so. Yes. Yeah. I think he wants to be told yes more than listen. And I don't think that he's in that position. Yeah, he's rich. Yes, you're the president, and that's terrific. But you're only the president for 4 years. Some of these people have been doing this for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. You need to listen to them because they're the expert. It's like I say, I'm not going to get into a heated, debate about weather with somebody that went to school for it or knows more about it than I do or puts a lot of time into it, just studying the stuff because I don't freaking know. I just look outside and see, man, it's hot as shit. I don't want to do anything. I'm going to stay inside, until they make Freon illegal, which is getting ready to happen. And then people are going to wonder how they're going to cool their damn house. And Freon's $1,000 a damn bucket.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think the future looks like for America? Do you think that there's any hope for us to reunite without a civil war, without any sort of drastic overthrow of the government or anything absurd?
Man, I think here's a couple things. I think that people are going to have to wake up and realize that nobody owes you anything. Under a capitalist system, nobody owes you anything. You're not going to get anything handed to you. And I hate that for some people. Now, there are a lot of ways that we can fix problems like the homelessness, like we were talking about earlier, and healthcare and all these things that we can do to take care of people. If we'd focus on solving our problems, if we would actually reach across the aisle and say, okay, man, these last 16 years or 20 some years have kind of been shitty. Let's really try to solve some problems for Americans now. Let's get down to it, roll up our sleeves and really solve the problem. Then I think that the American people would come together and kind of let go of this hate and all this stuff, and we could try to start over. And I think that the Trump brand could run for president again, and it would be okay. The problem is, even though I say I think a female should run, I don't know that it could be Laura Trump. Okay. I don't know that even Kayleigh McEnany could run for president if she wanted to, because she worked for Trump. People hate the guy so damn much. There's got to be a way that people get past that hate. And they've got to understand that every Republican or every person that says, I'm a conservative or I'm more conservative than I am liberal or whatever, doesn't mean that we're all like that guy. It doesn't mean that, I have a different belief in something than you do, so I think you're wrong. I don't think that you're wrong with the things that you've told me. I just may not agree with some of the things that you say, but I don't sit here and go, man, that son of a bitch is wrong.
Those generalizations, I think, are the killer. I mean, we're so quick now as a society to, if somebody says one thing, to cancel them. I mean, you said yourself, the cancel culture. We're the nation of instant gratification, right? Everything that you want, need, or have comes in your hand on a cell phone. It takes you absolutely no time to get anything you want, anything in the world within a day or two. So instant gratification. And if you don't like somebody, you just block them. Well, guess what? In real life, it's not that easy to do. You can't just block your boss. You can't just block the president of the United States, even though Facebook and Twitter did it. Yeah. Even though they censored the highest man in the freaking land. If they can do it to him, they can do it to you. And it should be illegal. It should be stopped. And the president, or Donald Trump, is fighting this battle, and it's even for the regular little man or woman who wants to run their mouth, who want to have a platform. I do agree with that. I do agree that companies like Facebook, Google, Twitter, they shouldn't be able to eliminate somebody from the internet, because effectively what they're doing is the equivalent of 100 years ago stuffing a ball gag in your mouth and saying you can't speak when you go outside. If we look at the traditional forms of large scale communication, you would give a speech, you would stand publicly in a town square, you would grab a bullhorn and stand on your porch. You would find some way to project your voice so that other people could hear you. And that was how you got your voice out there in the world. It was the only way. Nowadays, the only way to get heard is through one of those platforms. So by eliminating somebody's access to those platforms, you're effectively putting a ball gag in their mouth and saying you can't go outside and speak. You can't go anywhere public where somebody can speak, and nobody's going to hear you scream. That's what keeps coming to mind. Like me, if I get pulled off Twitter or YouTube, nobody's going to hear me scream. Not only because I won't have anywhere to scream, but it's just, I'm so small, I'm going to disappear. And it's kind of scary that they have that outsized power. So going back all the way to earlier in our conversation, talking about capitalism and how it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, don't these corporations with their outsized power sort of have a disproportional impact on democracy nowadays?
Oh, of course they do. Look, here's the thing. As long as these corporations are allowed to pay politicians, you're going to continue to have the same problems. All right. Now, I'm all for people making money. I don't care how rich you want to get. I don't care how you want to spend your money. All right. I'm all about capitalism. I freaking love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's the only way to be. And it's a well-known, it's the best system that there is. We know it works. We've proven that it works. But until we get corporations out of politics, there's going to continue to be these problems, and they're going to be the same problems, but that's what they want. So the corporations, in a way, kind of keep the wheels turning. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If you took their money, if you passed a law right now and said no more lobby, period, no more lobbyist money, none of that. You can't take money. You can't even to talk about reproductive rights or anything. No more money nobody would give a shit anymore. Nobody'd care about abortions. Nobody'd care about what happened with oil. Nobody'd care anything about religion. They wouldn't give a shit about anything because you've taken all the money away. Now you just stuck them with a 6-figure salary and a job to do.
I like that philosophy. John, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate your time. I have one final question for you here. I'm pulling this again from your page. Do you still think liberals are the worst after our conversation?
No, I don't think they're the worst. That's
okay.
That's my my little. I go too far, but I go too far on purpose.
That's fair.
It's kind of in a comedic way because I think I'm funny, even though I know I'm not that damn funny. So in a comedic way, I'm always like, liberals are the freaking worst. It's like I tell friends of mine who own cats, I say cats are terrible people.
Oh, fair. So, yeah, cats do make terrible people.
But honestly, I'll be honest with you now to be serious about it for a second. First of all, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. And I think we've had a really good conversation, way better than what I expected, to be honest with you. So normally my conversations with people who don't agree with me don't go very well, and somebody ends up getting mad and walking away or something. So
that's not me. I'm not that guy.
No, as I've gone in this journey, just talking about politics and people starting to notice you and they'll talk to you, then you realize, man, we really don't differ that much. You and I want the same thing for people. I want people to be as successful as they can be. I want you to enjoy your life. If you have trouble, I want you to be able to seek help. If you're homeless, I want you to have a home. We've got plenty of empty homes.
We do.
And we have plenty of people that need those homes. We've got to figure out a way to put them in them.
I agree.
I want all the same things for people that you do. We just differ on certain things. the media is what made us have this weird feeling of hate toward a person. And for some reason, we feel like we have to take up for him, and people who don't like him have to put him down. And what I wish people would do is really look at what Donald Trump did, do the work, and look at where he spent his money, where he put his money, colleges, and all the other things that the man did, and go, okay, you know what? He didn't do that bad of a job. He just talked too damn much, and he Twittered too much. He did some things that we weren't.
Keep his damn mouth shut, man.
He did some things that we weren't used to, but it's because he's not a normal person. And that's what I think when you look at Donald Trump, you're looking at somebody who's very, very different, and a very different character, even in mind and in his thought.
Oh, he had a completely different upbringing than any of us. I mean, he grew up a billionaire's son. From the time he was 11 onward, he had everything in his life handed to him. He's always gotten his way. And I feel like that led to a mentality of, I can do no wrong, nothing can stop me, and I'm always right. And I personally don't feel that that's what makes a good president. However, I will, after we're done today, go do a little more research on what Donald Trump did actually do, because that's not something we hear a lot about. I'm familiar with the colleges, donating money to the black colleges, and then on top of that, setting up the recurring funding for them. But I'm sure he did more. And I think it's worth exploring, because the only way we're ever going to get out of this cycle is if we stop picking up swords and pointing them at each other and start trying to understand. Well,
and think about this too, as somebody who is on the other side of the aisle. Okay. And I look at the Democrats and I'm like, what is it going to take for them to repair themselves? Because I just think they're in total disarray right now, and they have a lot of things going on, and that's something else we could talk about maybe someday at another day, another time.
Too.
Okay. And then you look at the Republican Party and you're like, man, how do these people come back from Donald Trump? And that's why I say we need a female. We need a good, strong female character, because any male that we put up there, they're going to put off as another Trump. And any male that we put up there may try to put himself off as another Trump-esque character. Instead of just being himself, just be yourself, and you really do the work. But I think it's going to take something pretty drastic so that people could see a new little face of the party. Let's go in a little different direction. But if it's Laura Trump, then so be it. If it's Kaylee, that's fine, because I'd vote for any of them. But if you're really looking, if you're really looking to do something to shake the party up, female.
That would be an interesting choice from the Republicans. I mean, we haven't seen that yet at all. I don't think. Have we had any female Republican candidates? Well, there's Sarah Palin. I remember her.
Yeah, that was the last one.
Was that the last one? Okay.
Yeah, she was just the one they threw the dart at, and it got
oh my God.
On her. So
that was an experience.
That one didn't make any sense. But a lot of people that stay in power doesn't make any sense. That's the thing too. And as again, another conversation for another day is the power that people have at the ballot box that they don't know and they don't care about, and they don't care about the midterms. If you get people more excited about voting and get them out there, you could replace all these old politicians with new ones. We'd have a totally different system, and probably not have all the hate and all the craziness going on in the world that we've got.
John, I would love to talk all day with you. I really would, because I could go on forever with this. But I do want to thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate your time. I'll get you a link to this. Do you have any pages or anything you'd like to promote here? Tell the audience about?
I've got a Twitter. It's at JT Wimbish. That's WIMBISH. You can hit me up on there. Send me messages. I answer everybody that I can. Unless you're just telling me what a POS I am, then I'll just leave it alone.
Fair enough.
So that's where I am there. I've got a Facebook as well. You'll see a lot of family stuff, and I'm an open book, man. I don't hide behind pseudo names and all that good stuff. So I am myself, but thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I've really enjoyed our conversation.
I did as well. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Take care.
All right.